guys, and welcome back to another video on my channel. I hope everyone's having a fantastic day today. Today I am busy doing a speed build for a mini series that I'm going to be releasing in a few days called Battle of the Bachelors. I am super excited about this series. It is going to be a lot of fun to create. And I think it's going to go really well with the storyline that I've planned for my main Sim series, where I basically play myself. Katie needs a partner in crime, and the best way to do that is to basically have a bunch of Sims battle it out to see who will win my heart in the end. This speed build that I am busy doing right now is basically split into two different components. The first component is the housing, which is what I'm working on right now. There will be 8 Sims competing, and all of them are going to have pretty much the same house, with only one difference, and that is the activity room, which I'll get to in a little bit. Other than the activity room, everything else is pretty much the same. So over here, like the kitchen, everyone's going to have the same looking kitchen, bedroom, bathroom, etc. The second part of this build is going to be the challenge arenas. Everything is on the same lot just to make it a little bit easier for myself. And also I wanted to include everything in the build because I thought that would be a little bit more interesting to watch. So I don't want to go into too much detail about the different contestants that are going to be playing, because I think it will be a lot more fun to either watch the mini-series as it goes on or to watch the Creator Sim video, which I'll be releasing in a few days, and that way you can see me creating the different bachelors and giving them the traits and kind of explaining everything. Instead of giving you their names and their personalities, I'm going to tell you a little bit about what I decided to do. There are 8 Sims, like I said, and so there are going to be 8 houses, and every single Sim has their own little activities room, and each Sim has a specific skill that I decided to level them up in. So I wanted to make it a little bit more interesting and give some characters a boost to some skills, because in reality, if you had a bunch of people going on a contestant show, they all have different skills in different aspects, and so I wanted to do the same thing with my Sims. I kind of looked at their personalities and thought, okay, what would be the best skill building objects that I can give these people, and that is kind of what I based the room off of. I will say that although I tried to make all of the houses look the same, as you can see, I literally just copied and pasted the house, and now I'm going to do the same for the roof. Even though I tried to make everything look the same, there is one house for one Sim that has a different colored bed, and we are going to get to that in a second. But basically, my idea was to make everybody's skill room different and unique. And I was also going to change their bedspread to be a little bit more unique, but for some reason I only did one of the houses, and then I just didn't do any of the other ones. And I only realized after I'd already filmed an episode of the Battle of the Bachelors, and I felt as though it was weird to change it. So this bed is just going to be green for the rest of the series, and it might be a little bit annoying, but that's the cards that it was dealt. Over here, we are busy doing the first skill room in the first house, and this skill is going to be for gardening. This character that I have created has a talent when it comes to gardening, and so for their skill that I was leveling up, I decided to give them the gardening level 2 skill, and by doing that, I just put a bunch of flower pots around the house and everything. Again, I'll probably explain a little bit more in detail when you see me actually creating the Sims, why I decided to go with gardening for this Sim in particular, but that is what I decided to do. Over here, for the next room, we are going to build a little office area with a computer and a few TVs, kind of like a monitor setup. This Sim, I decided to focus on the programming skills. In the video game that they're from, they are known to be a programmer. They are actually also known for being a big gamer, but I decided between the two skills I wanted them to level up their programming skills, so that's kind of what I focused on a little bit. I also have little gardens for each of these little houses, and some of them I tried to customize to the character, but a lot of the times I just kind of put random stuff there, just to make it look a little bit different. In this house that I'm working on at the moment, it was actually a very fun room to do, because the character that I'm basing this Sim off of is essentially a pirate. A very good pirate, very funny, very charming. In the game lore, they were actually a bisexual pirate, which confused the heck out of me because at first I thought they were gay and I wasn't gonna add them to the series because I thought it would be weird if I stole a gay man and made him my husband, but then I found out he was bisexual, so I did add him to the game because I was more comfortable with that. But over here we are just kind of adding a few piratey things that I could think of. The skill that I decided to focus on for him is mixology, because pirates are kind of known for drinking a lot, and also in the game lore, when you follow the quest lines, this character does have quite a few scenes where he gets a little bit drunk, which is actually quite fun to play through, even though I don't like people who drink in real life. So the next person that we are building a room for is actually from a first-person shooter game, where you can also use abilities against your opponents. I looked into his history a little bit just to see what else he had going for him, and he was actually a former task agent, which I thought was really cool, and he also used to recover items from the black market and return it to their rightful owners, which I thought was just a really cool thing to do. So I decided to go with this secret agent setup with the world map board as well as the fancy little table, and later on we are going to add some scrolls to the table because I think it worked well. Because he was part of the task force, I decided that the skill I wanted him to work on would be logic. Next up, we have a thief among us, and not only does he steal things, but he's also really good at talking to different people, convincing them to join the groups, or just wiggling his way out of sticky situations because he does thieve so much. And so for him, I decided to work on the charisma skill, which is why I added a mirror, so that he can practice his pitches and get out of sticky situations where he does steal too many gold bars. Over here, we have the next room, which I put a treadmill in because this character is known for being a fast runner, and in the game, his athletic skill actually kind of gives you a benefit if you choose to play the game with him. And so I decided that I was going to build up his fitness skill. I could have added any fitness equipment, but I did decide to go with the treadmill because, like I said, he's described specifically as a fast runner. And if you look at the walls in that room, I also added motivational posters, which I thought was just the funniest thing in the world. I thought it was so sweet. Over here we have the next room, and it is going to be a woodworking room. Although this character that I had made this room for isn't necessarily a woodworker or an artist or a sculptor or anything like that, they do work a lot with plumbing, and that might be a huge hint as to who this character is. I kind of put this character in like a little joke, just to have some fun, but I thought it would be really cool. Seeing as plumbing isn't a separate skill, I decided to put the woodworking desk in there because it does up your handiness skill, and when you work on plumbing, you also work on your handiness skill. I also added a little pipe in the room, and that has a huge connection to this character. If you know, you know. If you don't know, it's okay, just wait until the video comes out where I tell you who all of these characters are for this next room, and it is actually the final room that we'll be working on for the little living area for our contestants. We are doing a secondary kitchen area. Even though it was not widely known for this character to have an interest in cooking or anything like that, I did dig a little bit more into the characters to see what their personality is, and they had a big interest in cooking. They are actually from a different version of the Sims games, which I thought was really cool, and so I kind of looked at their interests and they had an interest in cooking. It also said in the biography that they enjoyed stargazing, so in his little yard area, I decided to add in a telescope so that he can do that hobby if he wanted to. I was not going to make him do that hobby straight away because obviously that would level up logic, and I wanted him to level up his cooking. He didn't need a completely separate room to level up his cooking, but it was just the principle of everybody getting their own activity room. I felt as though I had to make some sort of kitchen area to suit the entire theme. Now that I've finished the inside of the houses, I am just working on the outside a little bit, working on the walls, the roofs, and most importantly the garden area. I did decide to start up the world during spring, and my way of thinking was that if the world was happening during spring, then all of the flowers will be blooming and it will be a lot of pretty colors and everything would be perfect. That was not the case. When I actually started playing the save file after the build was done, I actually noticed that the plants looked very sickly and as if they were basically close to death. Maybe I should have started it while it was in summer to kind of make all the plants look bloomed and green and everything, but at the end of the day I did choose spring and there's nothing I can really do to change that. It did come in handy because I did actually need the rain for a challenge. Sadly, the garden doesn't look too well. Also, when I say garden, I literally just mean this little bit that I'm showing now. I didn't want to add too many plants because I was worried that the lot might lag with too many objects on it. Next up, we are starting off doing the arenas, and this is actually going to be the first challenge, which was a very fun thing to do. I decided the first challenge was going to be a gaming challenge, considering I am a gamer girl and my perfect partner one day needs to be a master at all games. Over here, we are just making little gaming arenas, and we are making a completely windowed wall so that you can actually watch and spectate the players as they are in the middle of their matches. The first area that we are going to be doing is actually going to be a chess area, and I think I do that lastly, but that's going to be the first one that they do. All the losers from the chess arena are going to move on to a video gaming arena, and the 2 losers, they are going to go on to the final challenge, which is going to be foosball. You'll slowly see all of these objects develop. Like over here is the TV, and it's going to be the video game area. I decided to put these spotlights in all of the different rooms, and I'm actually going to add ceiling spotlights as well, to kind of give it that vibe of more of a intense challenge arena type of ordeal. I'm also adding these chairs, and they really do remind me of airport chairs. The last time I was at an airport, I'm pretty sure I sat on chairs like this, but I decided to add these in the space between the arenas, looking into the arenas for anyone wanting to spectate. I will also be adding cameras to every single room as well as monitors. And although it won't actually play out in game, I kind of imagine that the cameras are busy recording the gameplay and that is being shown on the monitor, kind of like a close-up, so that you can see, for example, the chess moves. You'll be able to see what each person does, or with the video game challenge, you'll be able to see like, oh, who's winning. If you're not able to kind of see the TV, you can look up a little bit. Very similar to stadiums and concerts and stuff like that, how they have huge screens in the background so that you can see exactly what's going on. Over here we have the start of the second challenge, which is actually going to be an obstacle course. Because it is going to be an obstacle course, I needed a lot of space, and so I thought the best way to go about this is to create it in the basement. That way I can basically have the entire size of the lot. If I'm doing everything underground, then I don't really have to worry about taking up space on the surface area. So that's what I did. During the editing of this, I'm only going to show you one room that I create, and I'm going to multiply that by 7. And the reason why I built 7 instead of 8 is because one person would have been eliminated from the previous challenge, and therefore there will only be 7 players left. During this obstacle course, there is basically going to be a bunch of different distractions in different rooms. And in the last room, there is an ultimate goal and ultimate task, which I will talk about in a little bit. And the first player to complete that task is safe, and either the last 2 players that complete the challenge or the players that fail to complete the challenge are eliminated and are no longer competing to be the ultimate bachelor. There are several distractions that I decided to put in to kind of prevent the Sims from going straight to the ending. For example, I put in hot tubs, I put in the basketball hoop, I put in a bed, because at this stage I expect most Sims needs to be in the red, and so they would desperately need to go to the bathroom, or desperately need a bath, desperately need to sleep, or they want some fun, so maybe they'll first go to the bookshelf, or they want to exercise and go to the machine. And so all of these different objects are meant to be a big distraction, to kind of slow them down and prevent them from going to the end goal. Now, I also do want to say that I didn't play test any of this before I started doing the challenges, so if something wasn't working, I had to kind of go through it and discover it that way. Over here, we are setting up the end goal, and I decided that the way to win the obstacle course is to pick up the rubber ducky and put it away in the toy chest. Like I said, the first person to put the rubber ducky away will get immunity, and it will keep going until the last 2 players are eliminated from the obstacle course. I also decided to make it look a little bit pretty, and I made the floors of each lane a different color. The top part of the obstacle course is basically just this little shack, and I didn't really put anything in it other than the ladders going down to it because I didn't see any reason to put anything in that room. It was basically just like a holding cell to keep them between rounds. Over here we are going to be working on the 3rd part of the challenge, and this is actually going to be the last part of this build episode. For the other challenges, I will already be using different rooms on the lot, so I will not be creating any more rooms. But for this challenge, it is a little bit more confusing compared to the other ones, because this is a challenge where I basically just need to observe a Sim's behavior, and I kind of judge them on the actions they decide to do, so it relies very heavily on their autonomy. Basically what I'm going to be doing is that I create this room and everybody is going to have the exact same layout to make sure that it's fair. Each house is going to have the basic objects to help with the Sims need, but also some additional objects, and I will kind of judge them depending on how they decide to use certain things. The way I'm marking all of the objects that are going to be up for debate is by using a rug with a bunch of circles on it, and I'm kind of pointing at the objects using the circles. For example, every single house is going to have a bath. Now, if a Sim decides to take a bath, I probably won't give them any points. That's just something that everybody should do. But if they decide to take a bubble bath instead, I'm going to give them 2 points just for being awesome and for being the type of Sim that I would want to be with someday. Another example that I am going to give is that I'm going to have a bar in every single house, and a Sim will have an opportunity to use the bar, but if they do, they are going to get -1 point because I do not want a Sim that drinks a lot. But on the other hand, if they decide to get a cup of coffee by themselves without me telling them to, they are going to get +2 points because I am a coffeeholic, and I would really appreciate it if my partner is a coffeeholic too. That way I can't really be judged. There are several other objects that have very similar challenges tied to it. I will get more into that during the episode where we are actually playing through this challenge, but those are just a few examples of some of the points that I decided to give out. This whole challenge is a point system, and I might decide to change some things around depending on what I like, what I don't like. It's not really as rigid as a rule like you have to get the rubber ducky or you have to win a game. This is a bit more fluid, which is something that I really enjoy. And that is the build basically done. I hope you guys enjoyed watching me build it. If you did, please make sure that you hit that like button and subscribe so that you're notified every time I post a new video. Next week, Saturday on the 4th, I will be posting another Sims video, and that will be me creating the Bachelors for this challenge. 3 days after that, on the 7th, I will release the first official video of the Battle of the Bachelors challenge, so get ready for that. I am so excited. Thank you guys again so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye guys!